Hey everyone and welcome. Today we are diving deep into a fundamental conflict in architecture. We're really asking one big question. Can a building tell the story of its home, or is it destined to tell a story all its own?
So let's get right to the heart of it. This is the big question for today. Should a building blend in with its surroundings, its culture, its climate? Or should it stand out, totally break the mold, and create something brand new, maybe even a little confrontational?
So, let's start with the first philosophy, which makes a really powerful argument for the whole idea of belonging. It's called critical regionalism.
Okay, so what is this exactly?
Well, you can think of critical regionalism as a kind of rebellion against all those generic, one-size-fits-all glass boxes you see in basically every major city. It's an approach that says a building in the tropics of Sri Lanka should feel completely different from one in the deserts of Egypt. It's architecture that actually listens to the land. It uses local culture, the quality of the light, the climate, the very shape of the earth, to give a building a soul, a real sense of place.
The philosopher Paul Ricoeur just perfectly captured the core challenge with this question. See, it's not about just copying old buildings. The really crucial point is finding a way to be modern and innovative, while also connecting to deep local traditions. He's asking the essential question: how do you participate in this big, global world without losing your unique identity?
So how does this actually work in practice? Well, the principles are pretty clear. It's all about paying attention to the tiny details of a location, the slope of the land, the path of the sun. It's about using local stone and wood, not just because they're nearby, but because they belong there. And it's also about the feeling of a place, the texture of a wall, the coolness of a breeze through a screened window. It's architecture you're meant to experience with all your senses.
And listen, this wasn't just a theory, it was a real movement, led by some brilliant architects who were putting these ideas into practice all over the world. So let's take a look at a few of the masters.
First up, we've got Geoffrey Bawa in Sri Lanka. His Parliament building is a perfect example. Instead of some sealed, air-conditioned box, he created this series of open-air pavilions with these really distinctive copper roofs that almost look like they're floating on a man-made lake. This design doesn't just echo Sri Lanka's ancient palace architecture, it also works with the hot, humid climate. Bawa basically perfected what became known as tropical modernism.
Now, let's see how this exact same philosophy works in a completely different context. Over in Egypt, Hassan Fathi looked to the past to solve modern problems. He saw the wisdom in ancient mud brick construction and just revived it. He designed entire communities, like New Gorna, using local materials and traditional designs, things like cooling courtyards and natural air conditioning from wind catchers, to create homes that were not only affordable and comfortable, but deeply culturally authentic. And then in India, we have Laurie Baker. He was an absolute master of creating beautiful, high-quality buildings on a tight budget. He used locally available materials, especially brick, in these unbelievably creative ways. Look at those perforated brick screens. They're known as jolly. They're not just decorative. They provide privacy while letting in natural light and ventilation, which is absolutely crucial in a hot climate. I mean, this is just smart, sensitive, and sustainable design. So you get the idea. Critical regionalism is all about harmony, context, and a sense of belonging. But at the same time, another architectural idea was coming up that wanted to do the exact opposite.
This philosophy is called Deconstructivism. And if regionalism is about fitting in, well, Deconstructivism is about standing out, breaking apart, and challenging our very idea of what a building should even be.
The core idea here is basically controlled chaos. Deconstructivist architects take the rulebook of architecture and just tear it up. They take the basic elements, walls, roofs, windows, and they shatter them, twist them, and reassemble them into forms that feel unpredictable, even unstable. The goal is to make you actually question the stability of the structure you're looking at.
And this right here illustrates the difference perfectly. On the left, Bawa's hotel is literally wrapped around a rock outcropping. It's covered in vegetation, almost disappearing into the landscape. On the right, Zaha Hadid's fire station looks like it just exploded on the site. Its sharp, angular forms have absolutely no relationship to their surroundings. One is about harmony, the other is about collision.
The crucial point of deconstructivism is its confrontational attitude. It rejects tradition, it rejects ornamentation, and it deliberately creates a sense of unease. A lot of its inspiration comes from the French philosopher Jacques Derrida, who argued that structures, whether you're talking about texts or buildings, have no single stable meaning. These architects wanted to show that instability visually.
Let's look closer at Dame Zaha Hadid. Her work was described as creating a new fluid kind of spatiality. She shattered traditional forms into these fragmented, flowing geometries. But why? The goal was to create buildings that felt like the 21st century, capturing its chaotic energy, its digital speed, its constant motion. Her buildings don't feel solid at all. They look like they were frozen in the middle of an explosion.
And then there's Peter Eisenman, who took a more theoretical approach. Look at the Wexner Center. That large white grid looks like scaffolding, right? Well, that's intentional. It's meant to give the building a sense of being unfinished, in process. He collides different grid systems and structures to create a feeling of dislocation, challenging our expectations of what makes a building complete.
So, we have these two radically different ways of thinking about architecture, one that seeks connection and one that seeks collision. So what does this all mean?
This slide really lays out the core conflict. On one side, you have an architecture that listens. It responds to culture and context to create a sense of belonging. On the other side, you have an architecture that shouts. It responds to abstract theories to create a sense of dislocation and challenge. You know, it's the difference between asking, "Where am I?" and asking, "What is this?" Two completely different stories told through brick, steel, and glass.
And this brings us back to you. The next time you walk down the street, really look at the buildings around you. Are they trying to belong to the place they're in, or are they trying to break free from it? What story is your city telling?